Many people over 60 spend entire nights staring at the ceiling without truly getting restful sleep. They go to bed exhausted, but their mind never fully shuts down. They toss and turn, check the clock over and over again, and feel anxious because they know the next day will bring less energy, less focus, and even more exhaustion. Over time, this problem starts repeating night after night until it begins affecting mood, memory, blood pressure, and even the way the body ages. If this has been happening to you lately, I want you to know something important. You are not alone. And even more importantly, there are nighttime habits that may help you recover deeper, more restorative sleep naturally. I've experienced this myself during certain periods of life. And as a doctor, I've seen countless people come to me worried because they feel they've forgotten what it means to truly sleep well. I especially remember a 67-year-old patient who told me, "Dr. Gabriel, Mena, I feel exhausted all day, but when nighttime comes, my body seems unable to understand that it needs to rest." And this happens far more often than most people realize. Today, I want to help you understand what could be interfering with your sleep and what simple changes you can begin applying starting tonight to help your body rest better. What's most interesting is that many of these recommendations are supported by scientific research and years of observations from doctors and sleep specialists. Before we continue, I want to ask you something special. If this type of content helps you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube can share this information with more people who may also be silently struggling with insomnia, constant fatigue, or interrupted sleep. And I'd also love for you to leave me a comment telling me how your nights have been lately. Is it hard for you to fall asleep? Do you wake up several times during the night? Do you feel like you sleep but never truly rest? I always read your comments because they help me better understand what topics matter most to you and how I can continue sharing practical and useful information to improve your health and quality of life. One thing we must understand is that insomnia is no longer an isolated problem. Today, it has become extremely common, especially after the age of 60. Some people struggle to fall asleep at the beginning of the night. Others fall asleep but wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and then spend hours trying to drift off again. And although many people normalize this, the reality is that poor sleep deeply affects the entire body. That's why today we're going to talk about natural solutions and habits that may help improve your rest without necessarily depending on sleeping medications. While some medications can be helpful in specific situations under medical supervision, it's also important to understand that the body has natural mechanisms designed for proper rest when we provide the right conditions. We're going to talk about your nighttime routine, your bedroom, room temperature, light exposure, what you eat before bed, how stress interferes with sleep, and simple changes that could make a major difference in your nightly rest. And here's something fundamental that many people forget. Sleeping well is not only about having energy the next day. While you sleep, your body performs vital processes necessary to maintain health. During deep sleep, much of your cellular regeneration, hormonal balance, tissue repair, and brain recovery takes place. Your immune system also uses that time to strengthen itself. In fact, several studies have shown that long-term poor sleep quality may be linked to a greater risk of cardiovascular problems, metabolic disorders, cognitive decline, and accelerated aging. That's why sleep should never be viewed as a luxury. It should be seen as an essential biological necessity. And I want to tell you something very important. Many people spend enormous amounts of money on creams, cosmetic procedures, or anti-aging products trying to look younger. But if sleep is compromised, the body can never fully regenerate properly. True wellness begins from the inside out. Now let's talk about the first major factor that may be affecting your sleep without you realizing it: your sleeping environment. Your bedroom has an enormous impact on sleep quality. Sometimes people think insomnia only comes from stress or an overactive mind, but the environment around you matters tremendously as well. A room that's too hot, too cold, noisy, or overly bright can interfere with the brain's natural ability to enter deep sleep. Ideally, your bedroom should feel calm, dark, and comfortable. Many people sleep better when the room is slightly cool because the body naturally needs to lower its temperature in order to fall asleep more easily. Even taking a warm shower before bed may help your body relax and prepare for rest. Lighting also matters. Bright white lights at night can send confusing signals to the brain, making it think it's still daytime. That's why I recommend using softer, warmer lighting during the hours before sleep. Indirect, dim, yellow-toned lighting tends to be much gentler on the brain at night. And there's another major issue silently damaging sleep without many people realizing it: the cell phone. Checking messages, news, or videos before bed keeps the brain alert. Notifications can interrupt rest even when you think you're asleep. That's why it's worth trying to keep your phone away from the bed, or at least placing it on silent mode and avoiding screens during the final minutes before sleep. Preparing your nighttime environment may not seem important, but for many people, it can make an enormous difference. Now let's talk about another crucial factor: nighttime eating habits. What you eat, and when you eat, can strongly influence how well you sleep. Eating very late or having heavy dinners forces the body to keep working intensely when it should be preparing for rest. Digestion becomes more active, heart rate may increase, and many people end up experiencing lighter, more interrupted sleep. That's why it's generally recommended to eat dinner several hours before bedtime. And it also helps to choose foods that aren't excessively heavy or packed with refined sugars. Certain nutrients are involved in the natural production of substances linked to sleep and relaxation. Foods rich in tryptophan, for example, may support the production of serotonin and melatonin, both associated with healthy sleep. These include proteins like turkey, certain nuts, and other natural foods that can be part of a balanced diet. On the other hand, ultra-processed foods, excessive sugar, and certain nighttime habits can disrupt sleep far more than people imagine. And here I want to pause for a moment on something many people do believing it helps them sleep: drinking alcohol at night. While alcohol may initially make some people feel sleepy, it often ends up worsening sleep quality. It can increase body temperature, interfere with important sleep stages, and make sleep more fragmented and restless. Many people think they slept well, but wake up exhausted because the body never truly reached restorative sleep. What you do during the evening can either prepare your body for deep rest or keep it in a constant state of alertness without you realizing it. And one of the most common mistakes after 60 is exactly this: eating too late, consuming heavy foods, or ending the day with habits that disrupt the brain and sleep hormones. That's why I want to strongly encourage you to avoid ultra-processed foods at night, oversized dinners, and especially alcohol before bedtime. Many people believe a drink helps them sleep, but in reality, sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented. The body continues working, heart rate may remain elevated, and sleep quality suffers even if the person believes they slept. In contrast, when evening meals are lighter and more balanced, the body often enters a much calmer state that supports better rest. Many people notice improvement when they eat dinner earlier and focus on quality proteins, vegetables, salads, and moderate portions. Additionally, calming herbal teas like chamomile or warm caffeine-free drinks may help create a sense of relaxation before bed. I remember a 71-year-old patient who told me he had spent months waking up exhausted and feeling like he never rested at all. When we reviewed his habits, we discovered he was eating dinner very late, watching television until midnight, and drinking alcohol almost every night to relax. What was fascinating is that small changes in his routine started transforming his sleep within just a few weeks. And that teaches us something important. Sometimes you don't need complicated solutions, you simply need to understand which habits are interfering with your sleep. Now I want to talk about a factor people rarely discuss, yet it has a huge impact on sleep: light exposure and your body's biological clock. Our bodies operate according to natural rhythms. The brain needs to clearly recognize when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. The problem is that today many people spend most of their time indoors, surrounded by screens and constantly exposed to artificial light. Over time, this confuses the body. Some people barely receive any natural sunlight during the day. They leave home before sunrise, spend hours in artificially lit offices, and then return home to continue staring at screens at night. Little by little, the body loses synchronization with its natural rhythms, which can deeply affect sleep, energy levels, and even mood. When the brain struggles to properly interpret light and darkness cycles, stress-related hormones and wakefulness signals may remain elevated longer than necessary. That's when nighttime awakenings begin. Many people tell me they fall asleep relatively easily, but wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning fully alert, mentally active, and unable to fall back asleep. That's why something as simple as getting sunlight during the day can have a much greater effect than most people imagine. Allowing natural light to reach your eyes during the morning hours helps the brain organize its internal rhythms more effectively. Similarly, watching the sunset or dimming lights at night can help prepare the body for rest. In countries where daylight patterns drastically change depending on the season, researchers have observed significant effects on sleep, mood, and energy levels. This reminds us that the human body needs harmony with natural cycles. So here are some practical recommendations. Spend a few minutes outdoors during the day. Reduce screen exposure at night. Avoid harsh white lighting in your home close to bedtime. And instead of bright ceiling lights, use warmer, softer lighting that signals to the brain that the day is ending. It may seem like a small detail, but many people experience remarkable improvements once they begin paying attention to these habits. Now let's talk about exercise, because this is another fascinating area. Physical activity doesn't only help the heart, muscles, or joints. It can also become a powerful tool for improving sleep. Multiple studies have shown that regular exercise may improve sleep quality and reduce insomnia in many people. When the body stays active during the day, it naturally develops a stronger need for nighttime rest. Exercise also helps regulate stress and supports processes that calm the brain. However, there's an important detail here. Some people exercise too late at night and notice it becomes harder to fall asleep afterward. This can happen because intense physical activity temporarily raises adrenaline levels and keeps the body activated. This even happens to me sometimes. There are nights when I exercise very late or finish an activity feeling highly energized, and I notice my body takes longer to relax. My heart rate remains elevated and deep sleep doesn't come as easily. That's why, whenever possible, exercising in the morning or afternoon is usually preferable. But if nighttime is the only time available for you, I don't want you to interpret this as a prohibition. The most important thing is still to stay active and keep moving your body. In many cases, the body adapts over time. What truly matters is building a sustainable and realistic routine that fits your daily life. And now I want to move into a topic that creates a lot of confusion: sleep supplements. Today, the internet is filled with endless products, promises, and recommendations. Many people become overwhelmed because they hear different advice every single day. But when it comes to sleep, it's essential to focus on what actually has scientific support and to use supplements responsibly. One of the best-known supplements is melatonin. For years, people worried it could create dependence or lose effectiveness over time. However, we now know that when used properly and under professional guidance, melatonin can be a useful tool for many individuals. It's important to understand that melatonin is not a strong sedative. Instead, it acts more like a biological signal that helps the body recognize when it's time to sleep. This can be especially helpful for people whose sleep rhythms are disrupted, frequent travelers, or older adults whose natural melatonin production has decreased with age. In my medical practice, I generally prefer focusing first on habits, light exposure, nutrition, and the nighttime environment. But in certain situations, some patients may temporarily benefit from this kind of support while the body works to restore its natural balance. Sleep is like a chain where small daily habits can either strengthen rest or silently weaken it over time. That's why, beyond improving your nighttime routine, some people may also benefit from certain supportive nutrients that help the body relax and restore healthy sleep balance. One of the most researched nutrients in recent years is magnesium. Today we know that many people have low magnesium levels due to modern eating habits, chronic stress, and lower intake of fiber-rich natural foods and vegetables. Magnesium participates in hundreds of processes throughout the body and plays an important role in muscle relaxation, nervous system function, and nighttime rest. In fact, several studies have shown that some people with insomnia or poor quality sleep experience improvement when magnesium deficiencies are corrected. This is especially common among older adults, who often deal with muscle tension, fatigue, nighttime cramps, or difficulty relaxing before bed. There are also other compounds some professionals use to support brain functions related to focus, memory, and nervous system balance. Some people respond differently depending on when they take them. For example, certain individuals notice increased mental alertness when taking specific supplements at night. In those situations, taking them earlier in the day may work better to avoid interfering with sleep. I remember a 69-year-old patient who told me something very interesting. Dr. Gabriel, Mena, I feel more awake at night than during the day. When we reviewed his habits and supplements, we discovered he was taking stimulating products right before bedtime. Simply reorganizing his schedule and improving his nighttime routine helped him regain much more stable sleep. Another compound that has attracted attention in some studies is myo-inositol, especially because of its possible connection to relaxation and emotional balance. But I want to emphasize something very important here. No supplement should ever be viewed as a magical solution. And I never recommend starting supplements simply because someone online suggested them. It's always essential to consult a healthcare professional, use trusted products, and begin cautiously. Every body is different, and what works for one person may not be appropriate for another. Now, there's something that often has an even greater impact than supplements: learning how to calm the mind. Think about this for a moment. Some people arrive at bedtime physically exhausted, but mentally overstimulated. The body is lying in bed, yet the mind keeps replaying worries, memories, responsibilities, news, or family concerns. And in that state, it becomes very difficult for the brain to enter deep, restorative sleep. That's why relaxation techniques can become incredibly valuable tools. You don't need to do anything complicated. What matters most is finding a practice that helps your mind slow down before bedtime. Some people find peace through slow breathing exercises. Others benefit from meditation, prayer, journaling, listening to calming music, reading something peaceful, or simply sitting quietly away from screens and mental noise. Several studies on mindfulness and stress management have shown promising results for people struggling with sleep issues. And although some people initially think that won't work, the truth is that the brain often needs retraining to relax again. Personally, this changed my life tremendously. For years, I went through periods where I slept very little because of work, stress, and responsibilities. And I realized something very important. Sleep doesn't improve through intention alone. It improves when you build consistent habits. And this may be one of the most powerful lessons in this entire video: routine. The human body loves consistency. When you go to bed at completely different times every day, the brain loses clear signals for organizing sleep. But when regularity exists, the body begins preparing itself automatically for rest. That's why, whenever possible, try going to bed and waking up around the same time every day, even on weekends. I know this isn't always easy. Some people work night shifts or have unique responsibilities. But the more structure your routine has, the greater your chances of restoring healthy, restorative sleep. And I want to tell you something from the heart. Sleeping well is not a superficial luxury. It's a deep necessity for both the body and the mind. While you sleep, your body repairs itself, your brain organizes information, your tissues recover, and your body literally works to keep you alive and healthy. Many times we sacrifice sleep believing we can catch up later, but sleep debt eventually takes a toll. That's why protecting your nights is also a way of protecting your memory, your energy, your heart, and your overall quality of life. I truly hope this video encourages you to see sleep differently, not as an obligation, but as a daily investment in your well-being. And if this content helped you, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who has been struggling with poor sleep or difficult nights lately. Sometimes a small piece of advice can completely change the life of someone who has been exhausted for a very long time without finding answers. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what your nights have been like, what habit you'd like to improve, or what has helped you sleep better. Every day we upload new videos specially created to help you experience this stage of life with more wellness, more energy, and more peace of mind. And before I say goodbye, I want to invite you to do something very special. Take a moment tonight to thank God for life, for rest, for every new sunrise, and for the opportunity to continue learning ways to care for your health and your body. Sometimes we forget that reaching this stage of life is also a blessing, and that we still have time to build habits that allow us to live with greater peace, fullness, and serenity. I'm sending you a big hug. Thank you for joining me once again. And remember that here on Dr. Gabriel Mena's channel, we are honored to walk beside you in this journey of improving habits, understanding the body better, and helping you care for your health in a practical, compassionate, and human way. Tomorrow we'll have a brand new video created especially for you, and I truly hope to see you again so we can continue learning together how to live better after 60.